Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you all for joining us for today's session. My name is Firas, and I'm the event planner for the Redmond Reactor. Before we start, I have a few things to go over. Please take a moment to read our code of conduct. We seek to provide a respectful environment for both our audience and presenters. We encourage engagement in the chat, but please be mindful of your commentary and please remain professional and on topic. This session is recorded. It will be available through the Microsoft Reactor YouTube channel in 24 to 48 hours. I'll be sharing the link to the YouTube channel in the chat. I'll also be sharing some links to the Mira page, Reactor Mira page, and I'll also be sharing a link to our survey to let us know how this event went. Which brings us to the session today. This session will run for approximately an hour with time for questions throughout. Our speaker for today is Armando Lacerda. He is an Azure Data Platform architect and engineer. I'm now going to hand this over to you, Armando.
Thank you very much, Firas. Hello, everybody. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon from wherever you're connecting from. It's great to be here with you again. And today's session is about how to contribute to an open source project on GitHub. Well, when they gave me the topic, I say, well, that's a very interesting topic for a Microsoft session, right? Because it's none of the Microsoft technologies. It's actually one of the Microsoft companies, right? Microsoft acquired GitHub a few years ago. And, they kept GitHub with its own identity, its own way of working. And it's getting more and more integrated with the Azure and Microsoft as a whole. So, almost all Microsoft services in Azure, they have some way to connect with GitHub and implement CI/CD and all of that. We have a few sessions that we have recorded on how to do these tasks. But this particular one here is nothing to do with any of the Microsoft technologies. It has to do with one of the Microsoft companies, but it has way more to do with your engagement with the overall IT community, the developer community per se, and how you can share your brilliant mind and ideas with the community and bring some solutions to the table. Again, my name is Armando Lacerda. I am a Microsoft certified trainer, this red one here. Microsoft certified trainer, which means I've been delivering Microsoft content in a classroom environment, in a classroom setting to students all over the world. And I love doing classroom training. That say is really true. The guy who learns the most in the classroom is the trainer. But I love to see people getting skilled into technology and be part of the process. The other one in there is a Microsoft MVP, which means Microsoft has awarded me with the MVP award, the MVP title. And that means that Microsoft recognizes my contributions to the community. And again, contributions, right? One of the ways to be awarded by Microsoft is by contributing to the community through open source projects. Perhaps some of the Microsoft projects. Microsoft has a ton of open source projects out there in the development space, like Dapper is one of them. So there are multiple opportunities for you to contribute. In my particular case, I love contributing through user groups, through conferences. Sometimes I blog a little. And if you want to get connected with me, you're welcome to use LinkedIn. It's my preferred professional platform. My Twitter handle is almost an echo of what happens on LinkedIn. And Facebook is more about my personal life. I just published a 3D video on YouTube of me riding my motorcycle around the neighborhood. So if you're into these things, you can connect there. But in particular, on the professional side, LinkedIn. And for our session here, we're going to go and see how this process, right? What it means to contribute to open source projects. And to be honest, this is the only slide that I have. Everything you're going to do here, I'm actually going to switch here to the whiteboard to draw some ideas first. And then we're going to go into the environment where we're going to see how we can learn how to do these things. And talking about how you can learn about subjects, Microsoft, the technical subjects, of course, around Microsoft Azure and technology as a whole. Um, I'm not sure if you are aware, but Microsoft is not publishing courseware books anymore. I mean, Microsoft still has Microsoft Press. They still publish books. They still sell books. But when you go into professional training, when you go into a training classroom, Microsoft is not giving those courseware books anymore. They switched to digital books of over 10 years ago. And just recently, they decided to stop doing those digital books, and they created a new platform where they're making all the learning elements, reading elements, available for free from now on. So when you go into a classroom, in a real classroom, the benefit of the classroom is that the trainer, you are interacting with the trainer, asking questions. Like here, you can ask me questions. Faraz is going to put the message there, the questions here if they pop up. If you get any, and I hope you guys ask me questions as we move along. It always makes the session more interesting. But when you go to a real classroom, the benefit, a Microsoft official classroom and training, the benefit of that is the not just the trainer, but the trainer is the biggest one. There is also some environment elements in there, sandbox for you to do the exercises and things like that. But the actual material, if you like to learn by yourself, self-taught, you like to read and try the exercises, there is this platform. The logo is right here on top of my head, Learn, the Microsoft Learn. And I hope you will, at the end of this session, you will be motivated to go into this platform and check it out, right? Work with it and check it out. Let me get the browser here on my screen and get myself smaller here on the side so I can show you that. If you go and browse to AKA, oops, I think here, where is my mouse here? So if you go and browse to aka.ms/learn, right? If you go to this, this is a a shortcut that Microsoft has created, right? So if you go to this particular one here, aka.ms/learn, you will get to the main directory of all the learning paths that exist that Microsoft has published for you. So if you want to learn about something like I'm a data architect and a data engineer, if I want to look into something like I need to know about Databricks, I need to learn about Databricks because I'm moving to the cloud. I'm coming from on-premises. I work with databases. I need to know about Databricks. So if I search around here on the on these learning paths, let's see, Databricks. So I am in Microsoft Learn. There are 51 learning paths about Databricks. So data engineer with Databricks, performing data science with Databricks, read and write data using Databricks. That seems to be a good one to get started with, right? And when you click on these guys here, you are off to start learning something new. And here's the steps they're going to go over with you, right? It's a great platform to learn, to get your feet wet into something new. Of course, when you get a book and when you get a classroom environment, you have more elaborated elements there to work with. But here you can get started, and you can get started for free, which is awesome. Faraz already placed there the link for today's learning path, which is this one here, right? Contribute to an open source project on GitHub. So this is the learning path that we'll be working on today. The link is already there. Just copy and paste it later after we finish our session. So before I get started in here, let's go over the story, right? What's the idea behind what we're talking about here? So let me get here my whiteboard, and for some reason my whiteboard is getting this gray area there. There we go. It's gone now. Perfect. And my mouse is here. All right. So let me get here my pen. So you are working on your computer. This is you on your computer, your laptop, right? Your desktop, whatever you're working with. And of course, there is the cloud out there. So I apologize for the bad drawing. It's hard enough to do to do it on an iPad, and I have horrible eye-hand coordination. So you're gonna suffer a little bit around this one here. So you have the cloud, and in the cloud you have services, and the particular service we are talking about is GitHub. So GitHub, in case you're not familiar with, GitHub is this open source repository. It can be a private source code repository too, and repository to other content, not just source code for applications. But pretty much what it does is it's kind of a OneDrive. You know, you upload your content to their servers, and you download your content from the service. That's the overall idea. But GitHub was designed to support development, application development, source code development. So the idea is that in GitHub, you create these repos. They call it repositories. Oops. These repos in GitHub. And these repositories or repos where we create our code, we by default, when we create these things, they are open for the public. Anybody can see. Not anybody can change, right? You don't have to let everybody change your repo, but it's published for other people to see. And if they want to, they can copy for themselves and keep developing for themselves or give back to you whatever contribution. That's what we're talking about here. So there are other people's repo, and there is also your own repo or your collection of repos, right? You can have multiple repositories. And the idea is exactly that. Contributing to an open source project means that you will go into GitHub and you will connect to a particular repository, right? A particular repo. So you're looking into the topic on the learning path would be about, I think, data science or machine learning, something around that. So let's say you want to contribute to a project that is around networking. So you look around for projects that are about networking, or in my case, you look around about looking for projects on data engineering, for instance. And when you find a project that calls your attention, or someone forwards you a link to that project, you go and look into the repo. If you like that repo, you can't make changes straight to the repo. Usually, the repository owner, they make it available for people to make their own copies, and then when they have something to contribute, they put it back. They send it back to the owner. So the idea here, the first step is, if I find a repo that I want to contribute with, my first step is to clone. I want to clone that repo. We're going to get the repo and get the repo for my on my under my own account. So I have my account here, and I'm going to use a different color here. So this one here is somebody else's account. The green one is going to be somebody else's account. Let me change this repo here from black to green. Great. Just some changes here on the fly. So the black one is my repo, and the task that I've just done here is to clone that repo, right? I want to copy that repo to myself. So now that I have a copy of the original project, that particular repository, now that I have a copy on my own account, now that's my account. I can do whatever I want. So sometimes I can do changes on the repo itself straight in GitHub. If whatever project is about, if it does support changes on the GitHub platform itself, I can do that. Or in multiple cases, what you see people doing is they go and copy, copy this repo to the local computer, and they work here on the local computer applying changes. Man, I cannot write today. Applying changes. And once we get to a point where they test on the computer, they run the code, they are satisfied with the code, you doing that as a contributor, Once you're okay with that, you start the process back. You give the process the changes. You upload your changes to your own repository. So that is you accept your own changes. But then later you will send these changes back to the original repo. And this one here, you are asking the owner of that repo to get your changes. So it's called a pull request to get your changes. Hey, I made some changes to your project. And we explain what you have done. You're gonna see how the process works as we finish this one here, this little drawing here. So you offer your contributions, and they will look into your contributions. They will analyze your contributions. Usually, whoever is the project owner will do it him or herself, or they will have a team that will do that. And if you get accepted, so you become a contributor, right? You just add your name to the whole of open source contributors out there. And don't, it sounds a little silly sometimes. Why I'm working for free? In a way, yes, you are working for free. But in another one, you are sharpening your own skills, and you're making a contribution that will help other people out there. In the cell phone we have, if you have an Android cell phone, the original source of the operating system running on your Android cell phone came from this, right? It's open source, and it was made through open source contributions. There are portions in there that they're not open source, they're locked, but a lot of it's open source. In my case, in data engineering, we use a particular technology called Spark, the Spark engine. The Spark engine is an open source project. It's not in GitHub, but it is hosted someplace else where people go and contribute in a similar fashion. So nowadays we have, for actually not nowadays, but since for a long time, I don't know, for 20 years at least, we see these contributions coming into the community, and people are developing and putting the code in there. So again, just to summarize it here, so we can go into the hands-on of this. Step number one is to find a project that I want to contribute to. And I can contribute in multiple ways, right? I can contribute by coding, like we're doing here, or like I'm gonna do here. You can also finance. Some people like to contribute with money, so we're gonna see there is this option there. So you find the project, then you make a copy of the project to your own account in GitHub, and you can do your code changes if supported right there on GitHub, or you may want to get that code into your own development workstation, do your changes, and then you start pushing the data, pushing your code, your contributions back. So you commit your contributions to the local copy you have here on your computer, and then you push it back to your own repo. And after you get in your own repo, your last step is to do the pull request and let the project owner you want to contribute with to evaluate if your contribution is good, right? It really adds up to the project. So this is the story, right? This is what we will be doing in the next few minutes, and then wrap up. With that in mind, let me check back here in the environment. Let me see if there are any questions. I didn't see anyone popping up. Do we have any questions there? I think I see one. Let me see. Sorry, I have a question. Which attitude is good for contributions, forking or cloning? Well, you can. There we go. Thank you, Faraz and Sepper for the question. You can either one can be done, right? Cloning or forking are two actions you can do in GitHub. Two possible ways to get a copy of the repository. They have distinct implications. One of them keeps the history of the changes. The other one starts a clean slate. But either way, you can push them back to the repo. So it's pretty much your choice. There is no better way of doing either one. Let's see what the learning path suggests us to do. Good question. Thank you for the question. All right, let's get back in here. Okay. So if you have the link in there, this is where it's going to take you to. This is the learning path for this session. So let's go ahead and click in here, start browsing around. There we go. Mouse there. And in case you haven't seen that yet, you I'm not sure. I think I'm not logged in here. Let me see if I am. Yeah, I am logged in there. So every time I complete tasks and I answer questions, quizzes that they have in there, I accrue points. See, I got a level in here, and I get some points in here. And when you finish, when you go through the entire learning path, they give you a badge. And the badge is not a certification. There is no like university college credits or anything like that. But it does show that you've been through a learning path and you have completed the exercises. So show you have some skills on that one. And that's the idea, right? To show that you have invested time, your own time, to learn something new, and you can show that off. It's always good to get those points. So I'm going to click here on this start to get a new tab over here and get started on the process. So of course, you're gonna spend your time, invest your own time reading this text in here. All this lecture here, I'm not gonna read these things for you. I'm gonna go straight to the chase and, sorry, bad click. Go straight to the chase and see how that goes. So, you will need a GitHub account. So if I go here to my GitHub, let's see here, github.com, and I should be able to sign in. That's good. Incorrect username or password. Username or email. Username is that. And password. Hopefully that will go. Okay, that went through. Authentication code. Open two-factor authentication app on your mobile device. Let's see. So yeah, when you do it live, sometimes you get this thinks you have to authenticate again. Come on. And we're looking for my authentication code on this guy here, GitHub. Let's see if that goes. 359. And yay, there we go. Let me close this guy here. So this is my GitHub repository, all right, my account actually. And in here, I have a few repos that I work with, some repos I have contributed to. So see Microsoft Azure Docs is Microsoft documentation. Sometimes I find something, that's not that clear over there. So I go contribute to that one. And there are some other ones in there. So once you hear the way you have to start looking around is pretty much search, right? You can go here and search for something and just defining there like machine learning. See if I got something in machine learning. So there are 450,000 repository results on machine learning. And I may want to see issues that are going out there, people that are having problems with machine learning, and get into one of these issues here, read through it, see if I can have if I can contribute that in one way or the other. Yeah, so that's one of the ways you can get that going for you. Let's go back here to the steps. All right, so find an open source project goes like this. You start looking around, just demo that for you. And of course, familiarize yourself with an open source project. Make sure when you get into a project, so like, let's take a look at this one here, just by chance. I don't know what is in here. Oh, browse around. This is the actual repo, a bunch of elements in there. And usually they have down here, what is this? This is, Sorry. This is actually the issue. This is actually the issue. So let me go to the repo itself. There we go. Here in the repo, it's mandatory for them to have this README markdown file over there. And in here, there will be the license codes, the elements. This one doesn't seem to have one. So bad example, just got in here. But usually you want to make sure you're on the legal side, the good legal side of these things. So make sure you read their code of conduct and their copyright terms. So this portion here kind of refers back to that one, right? So code of conduct, very important. And who is going to be the owner of your work is also very important. Make sure that the license elements, they follow some standard ones like the GNU or the MIT, where your contributions are there. They belong to the community, not a particular person, and are not commercial. All right. And then you can also identify tasks to work. So this is our all content you can come and read on right later. I'm not gonna read it for you like I mentioned. This particular topic here mentions that you can sponsor a project financially. So there is always this. Not always, but when the project owner enables it, you can ask for a financial contribution in there, and you can give money to the project. And Firefox, it's one case of that people adopt Firefox and they keep contributing financially, so Firefox can improve and things like that. All right. Let's move on and see what is next. I see some activity here on the chat. Let me see if there is any new question going on over there. Maybe a silly question, but could the badge help beef up your resume? There we go. Thank you. If you're looking for a job placement, I would say that recruiters are not really looking into this. They don't go into your GitHub and see. They don't go into Learn and see the badges you're having in Learn. But it will definitely help you during interviews because you'll be more skilled and so on, but not something like people look at, let me see if this guy has been through a particular learning path on Learn. I don't think so. Certifications are more into that. And there are many learning paths in Microsoft Learn to help you prepare to get certified. Now, if you get certified, then that's a good thing. Okay. All right, no more questions over there. A lot of just you guys talking to each other, which is great. Keep doing that. And for us, we'll keep a look there on the chat window, see if there any new question pops up. All right, so contribute to an open source repository. So specifically when you do coding, if you want to go ahead and contribute with code, with application development and the code. This next session here will give you some guidance on that one. First thing first, right? Make sure you get the context of the project owner so you can communicate to the guys, introduce yourself, and ask for code of conduct should be already written in there. But if there are any specific, protocols or any particular ceremonials that they like people to follow, get familiarized with the community you're connecting to. Creating pull request is what we do when we give something back to them, right? So I'm giving something to you as the owner of the project that I made a copy and make some contributions. So I'm asking you to pull my contributions and take a look. So pull request. And so here in the text here, they keep doing a step explaining the process. So kind of that story I mentioned to you, clone or fork. Here they're going to do a fork to answer the question that Separ I think asked earlier. So this is one here. They go into a fork, and then you go into your repository and start working on your repository. Here are some of the commands that are documented here for you. So none of this is actually the exercise. They're just explaining the story. I kind of penned down here on my whiteboard. They're just explaining the story on text, right? Instead of trying to do a diagram like I tried. And the whole life cycle is right here. So you can come in here and read on this one later. Like I said, I'm not going to read it for you. I'm going to get straight into this one here, the exercise. So here's where you are going to have your hands on. The previous one, their commands are there. You can try on them by themselves, but there is no support, right? No sandbox for you to play with and exercise that. The next step here will offer you that here on the exercise. Now, here's the interesting portion. Microsoft Learn, this website we are browsing here, has all these resources for us, right, to read these elements. And when it's a Microsoft technology, like you're doing something in Visual Studio Code and then doing a website using C# or using .NET framework, sometimes even other platforms like Python and Node.js, and you get those frameworks in there, develop your things. For the most part, all your exercises are here, hosted right here in Microsoft Learn. And for a few of them, they even give you a virtual machine sometimes for some of the exercises. Some of the exercises that require Azure, they give you a sandbox in Azure so you can do your thing. So there are a lot of resources built in this website. But for this particular one, because this is from GitHub, and GitHub, like I said, is a company that has been on the road for a very long time, and Microsoft acquired them a few years ago. So they have their own knowledge base. And as a matter of fact, they have their own learning site like this one here. So what Microsoft did in here was connecting them together, right? Or, putting a hyperlink here to the GitHub website and the learning path there. We will see that here. See, when it gets to this point here on the exercise, and this is true for pretty much all GitHub content we see here in Microsoft Learn. There will be a link where they will redirect you to GitHub itself. And there you will find the actual steps to play the exercises. So I just clicked on that one in there. It opened it in a new tab. And as you can see, there is a first contributions user and a first contributions repo on that one. And here's the repo. And down here, many languages, nice. And language support, right? You can get translation there. And down here is your guide, is how you're gonna work on to experience the process. So the first thing they do is like get into the project. Here's the project. We are right here, right? And you're gonna find in there the fork action all the way up there. You're gonna find here the fork action. So when you do this, you can you're gonna do that copy that I mentioned, right? I mentioned during my drawing, I put clone in there. Some people, especially when these contributions, they like to use fork. And here on the learning path, they're suggesting to do the fork. Look that there are 45,000 copies of this repo out there. A lot of people have made their own copies. And of course, this is a training exercise. So a lot of people have been through this one here, like you guys are learning how to do now. And they have, getting up to speed on how to do these things. But when you get to other repos, this is a good way to see if that particular project has some traction, right? If there are a lot of people contributing, and it's going to be an opportunity for you to learn from somebody else, from some other developers there. So let's go ahead and fork this guy. Right, I just clicked in there. Sorry. Let me go back one here because I don't want to lose my place on this thing. Where is it? Here, fork. So let's go ahead and make a duplication of this tab. Let's go over there to the fork. Duplicate of that tab in there. So who's going to be the owner? I am going to be the owner. It seems I have some other accounts there that I can use, right? I'm connected to. Yeah, I got some other. I've been given access to other repos from some of my clients, so I could make this copy to their repos, to their accounts and repo over there. if I had access. And here's going to be the repo name is keeping the same name because I don't have it on my account. And I can go ahead and get some description in there, and I'm good to go. Reading repository. Now I am on my account. See, Armando Lacerda, and I just got this a copy of that repo over here. And this is the original one. And the steps we are following, right? Yeah, there we go. So if you don't have Git on your machine, I already have Git. I'm gonna use Visual Studio Code for that. What they're talking about is there is a software, right? You have to have software on your desktop if you want to do this. Where's my pen? If you want to do this number 3 here, right? We just checked this one and this one. Now I have my repo with the copy. So if I want to do this number 3 here, I need to have Git software on my computer in order to deal with the second copy that I'm gonna make to work on my own computer, because Git repository, it's a distributed database. So every time you are going to work with the code or the content, whatever content it is, in a particular physical place, a different place, you get the full copy over there, and you keep replicating and synchronizing all the copies you come to create. In my case here, I already have Visual Studio Code installed, right? Actually, no, this is not it. Where is Visual Studio Code? I have it open here somewhere. Oh, here it is. So I got Visual Studio Code here, and I'm gonna go ahead and open a folder. There we go. I'm gonna go. I have a folder here that I use to do all my tasks, my labs, and I have one here for the reactor. So here in the reactor folder, I'm gonna create a new folder here for contribution demo. Whatever I do, I'm gonna create inside this guy here. Select this folder, and now I have the folder. Folder is empty. See, it's showing up over here. It's kind of small because it's the font of my monitor. So apologize for the size of the font in there. So it's kind of small, and I do have here both the Git extension that comes built into the Visual Studio Code, and I also have here my terminal. Right, in Visual Studio Code you can open a terminal, and from the terminal you can do some. Okay, this got bigger. Nice, it works here. Sometimes I do this, it doesn't work. Where we can do command line. We can issue commands to the command line through the CLI and get things done for us. Here, when I type Git, because I already installed the Git desktop, I see Git is ready there for me to start working with the source code. In case you need to download Git, this is the repository. I mean, the software you should be installing. One is also an open source one and a free one. This guy here, right? This one from Git. Highly recommended. There are other ones out there, but this one here is highly recommended, very popular. All right, let's keep going here. Let's see what's the next step in our path. Where is it? Here we go. So now that I have my repo there, good. I have forked the repository. We got that done. Now we want to clone the repository we got into our account, right? The repository we forked. So go to your GitHub account, open the fork repository, click on code button, and then get the code into the clipboard and run it on your computer. All right, let's see how that goes. So back in here in the code on my account, because I want to be able to push this back to my account, and from my account back to the original repository. So here in code, I can do, look at this. This is the URL to get the copy of this repository. So this is the repository address. So if I get this guy here, and I go back to my command line and do Git Clone with that URL, meaning if I go here, oh, no, sorry, not here, code here, if I go here and do Git Clone and that guy over there, this will bring, let's do it. This will bring a copy of that repo that I forked that's in my account to my local computer, and then I can work offline, right? I can do everything I want to do, all the elements I want to do in my local computer. Don't need to be online for that because I have a full copy of the database in here. But notice that Microsoft fingerprints are start showing up in GitHub itself, because that one would work if I'm running on Linux, on Mac, on Windows, like I just did. But if I'm running on Windows where I have Visual Studio installed, right? It can be Visual Studio Code too, but if I have Visual Studio installed, Visual Studio is a software that runs only on Windows. If I click on this guy here, it will invoke Visual Studio, and I hope it doesn't pop up in here. Yeah, and then it would copy the project into my Visual Studio environment. So there are some integrations to that one, which is great. All right, back in here. So now that I have my code, see, Git Clone, we have done this. And now I have the code on my local computer. If I go back here to my Visual Studio, yeah, just completed all there. And when you get in here, you start working with your local branches, right? You're gonna your intention is to make changes to this. So the regular workflow of working with GitHub, with a Git repository for that matter, is to create a branch, apply your changes, and commit your changes back to your database. So this is what this guy is doing over here, right? It is, where is it? First contributions going to the folder, and then doing a new branch right there. So let's copy this guy over here. Let's take a look here in the folder. First contribution right there. This is the content, all the content that's in there. Let's go ahead and mark our initial change. So there we go. Switch to a new branch. I didn't change the name. Sorry. Your new branch name. So that stayed as my name. I forgot to change the name. That's fine. There we go. They some other name they came up with over there. And then from there, you start doing your changes. So here there is a contributors markdown file. Let's go ahead and do some changes there. So if I go here into the folder, I see a bunch of folders, a bunch of all the content I have downloaded from the repository. So here's the file they're talking about. So yeah, you can go ahead and add your name in here. So a bunch of people have been here already. Let me go ahead and add myself. Let's see. Let's copy this guy over here. Oh, actually, it's already there. So the one and add myself. And this is marked down. In Markdown, when you do your name like this and the URL later, you get a hyperlink on the Markdown. So I'll just create a hyperlink here for my page. You're going to put my LinkedIn profile. So it's LinkedIn.com en Armando Lacerda. That goes to my LinkedIn profile. I'm probably breaking the contribution rules for this thinking here, because everybody's giving their own accounts in GitHub. I'm putting LinkedIn in there, so people be mad at me. You're not following our code of conduct, man. Sorry, I was just giving a better example during my session. But I'm gonna keep it like this. Save this file. File saved. So contributions done. All right. So let's add that change, because when I saved to the file system, right? Now it's time to get that file into the actual repo. So let's add that file in. File is there. And then commit that change to the branch. And when you do that, you are allowed to put some comments in there. And as a matter of fact, they are, most of the time they are mandatory. Add Armando's LinkedIn to the contribution list. All right, so that goes in. What else? What happened here? Author identity unknown. Please tell me who you are. Why you did not like me? Something with my repo here that it did not got my account from get-go. So let's do this. Git config global user name. And my username there in GitHub is Armando Lacerda. So that should do it. If I can type. If I can type better. All right. Screen the screen and try that commit again. That is funny. Unable to auto-detect email address. I'm not doing that. I already configured the thing. Git config -- global username and my name. Now let's try. If it doesn't fly, we're gonna, yeah, it didn't go. For some reason, Git is not happy with me today. And yeah, I'm not sure how we're gonna go around this one here. I'm not sure I'm gonna run this one here because this is how it's supposed to go. Run. Just set to the repository. So let's try that. Last time. It's not, it's mad at me at some point. So I apologize for the broken demo here. Let's go ahead and just, imagine, let's think that this commit did happen successfully, and let's travel the way back. So back in here into the air service, we are at this point here, right? We have done 1, 2, and 3. So these changes here failed for some reason, my repository. So now it's time to start getting these things back all the way back to the source. So the next steps in there here. The next steps in there are, there we go. We got this guy back. So we push the changes back to GitHub. So git push to get it to my repo, right? To the original branch and repo name in there. And then you submit, the last step is to submit your changes to the original project where you forked from. Yeah, so I'm not going to even push that one because I have no changes. If I try to push it, it will say that there are no changes, there are no commits, there is nothing to push back. So the whole pipeline is broken. But that's how you do it. See, and this is the end of it. Once you have done this, and I'm so sorry, now my mind is running here. So what am I missing? But I'm not going to try to troubleshoot this today. So this is how you do it, right? You fork or clone from the original project, and from there you clone to your local desktop. You do your changes, and you move it back by committing to your local desktop, and then pushing back to your repo in GitHub, and then requesting a pull, making a pull request from the original source. So that's it. That's all that we have for today. This is how you contribute to open source projects in GitHub in the platform. and make sure that your authentication is working on your desktop. I'm not going to try to troubleshoot it here. I have no idea what that failed. With that in mind, are there any questions before we wrap up our session for today? Let's see if there are any more sessions here. What does Git status shows? Is unable to auto detect email. Yeah, it's trying to use my email address. So let's play with this here just a little longer, see what it says. Git status. I cannot even type. Oh my God. On your branches, committed, use Git. Yep, seems okay. Modify, got one modification in there. Everything looks good. So, okay, so that was just one of the questions there on the pipeline. Let's see, where is it? Let's try this one here. Just see, yeah. What was the name of it here? Your new branch name. It seems it's trying to put it back to my repo. Let's see. So it's asking for authentication right here. So sign in with a, let's try the code. And my thing went dead. No window is open there for me. There's nothing opening there. Device authentication. Visit the URL below. Oh, let me put that over here. Can I move it? Yes. So I got the code. Here's my code. Let's get to a site and get that code in. 1A, 9A, 1A, 9A, or 1AC. So I got the code in. Nah, you see, even the code is not working. Yeah, man. Anyways, all right, let me see if there are other questions in there. I'm a beginner. Welcome. You're in the right place. If you check this session again, many after session, please. Okay, this is us. Get status. Can you try again pushing it? Yep, I just did. It might work now since everything seems good. Yeah, but my authentication back to the repo didn't work. There's something wrong with my my workstation or this particular repo when I downloaded. I have no idea why it's giving me these authentication issues. All right. Okay, then. I don't see any more questions in there. For us, I give it back to you.
Thank you so much, Armando. As usual, great session. I just want to thank everyone for joining. And just one thing, if you have the time, we'd really like to hear what you think about this session. I would really love to hear your feedback. I just put a link, an AKA link in the chat. Please use the code 15887 and let us know what you think. And other than that, thanks again and have a great day.